The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
All right, Elena, thanks so much. Our time now is 5:02, and this morning law enforcement is investigating a deadly stabbing in Oildale. Sheriff's officials say 3 people were stabbed inside an apartment last night in the 900 block of Olive Drive near Airport Drive. It happened just after 9 o'clock. KCSO says 1 person died. The other 2 were taken to the hospital. It is not clear what led up to the stabbing, but KCSO says all 3 victims knew each other.
In your 17 Crime Watch now, an early morning standoff yesterday left a Bakersfield police officer wounded. 17's Moses Small has more on the 9-hour incident that involved fire and weapons.
Bakersfield police were called to assist firefighters at Toll House Drive near South Liggett Street at about 1 Thursday morning for reports of a man setting fires. That's near Highway 58 and Highway 204. When they arrived, officers found 34-year-old Alexander Fuentes holding what appeared to be a gun.
Determined that the possible firearm was a pellet gun after one of the officers was shot in the head with it. That officer received minor injury.
Police say Fuentes then ran into his house with multiple weapons, starting fires in his yard and dragging police into a standoff that lasted nearly 9 hours. Isidore Cruz was next door when it happened.
Alexander next door, he started shooting at the next door neighbors with a pellet gun. Maybe about 20 minutes later, we started smelling smoke.
Cruz said the flames shot 20 feet into the air, scorching Fuentes' yard and parts of the house.
He came out and his arms were on fire. And then later you heard a small explosion in the back where, the flames were.
BPD says negotiators tried to convince Fuentes to surrender, but he wouldn't stop. Video shows heavily armed SWAT officers waiting to make an arrest.
The officers asked me, can we go through your back? And they started popping boards out.
First responders say they arrested Fuentes at 10 Thursday morning and no one was injured. Cruz says he's known Fuentes and his family for years.
I know he has mental issues. He has it in the past. I'm happy for their family that he's not shot. I just really hope he gets the help that he should be getting.
Moses Small, 17 News.
And
in other news this morning, a Delano man wanted in connection to a 2017 murder has been arrested in Mexico. 29-year-old Rafael Gama was taken into custody on Wednesday in Tijuana with help from Homeland Security and the U.S. Marshal's Office. Gama was wanted for murder of 28-year-old Jesus Perales Montalva, who was shot to death on September 1st, 2017 in Tulare County. Gama will be brought back to Tulare County on a no-bail homicide warrant.
5:05 now, Kern County Sheriff's deputies have made a big pot bust. On Wednesday, sheriff's deputies and investigators with the High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Task Force served a search warrant on the owners of a large home and industrial building in the 16,000 block of Stephanie Street in the Rosedale area of Bakersfield. Inside, they found a large-scale clandestine marijuana cultivation operation, which was subsequently dismantled. Also seized nearly 3,000 high-grade cannabis plants and about 800 pounds of processed marijuana ready for sale. 4 men, all from the Van Nuys area, were arrested, booked into jail, and charged with a host of drug-related felonies.
In your 17 Core Watch this morning, we continue to follow the trial of Matthew Queen, the Bakersfield man who faces 35 charges, among them the alleged torture and murder of Michael Holzenbake. Holzenbake is part of a group who has become known as the Bakersfield Three. Yesterday, a witness took the stand testifying about finding a severed arm in East Bakersfield. Back in August 2018, Alejandro Cedino, who was 16 at the time, testified he and 3 friends were playing in the Kern River at Hart Park when they noticed something large in the water. Cedino said they brought the heavy bag to shore and dumped it out to find a sweater covering an arm. The remains were later identified as belonging to Michael Holzenbake, the man whom Queen and his ex-girlfriend Bailey Despot are accused of torturing and killing in late March 2018. Despot disappeared shortly after Holzenbake's murder. After the discovery in the river, no other remains of Holzenbake turned up until last summer, when officials say his skull was found in another bag in the river. You can read much more about this case on our website, kget.com.
Well, you may have felt a little shaking going on overnight. A preliminary 3.2 magnitude earthquake was reported just after 2:30 this morning, about 6 miles northeast of Keene and about 13 miles northwest of Tehachapi. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake occurred at a depth of about 1.2 miles. I didn't feel anything.
I was going to say nothing can wake up Maddie at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's not necessarily. You're right. I sleep through all of the earthquakes. If I'm asleep, I'm not going to feel them. You will feel like a 1.2.
I will.
Did you feel that?
I'm not joking. I will be asleep. I will feel. I have been where like I will feel something. I'll go, did you guys feel that? And everyone's like, no.
I never feel. You
They're
say
awake.
that. You've said that before.
Well, we have a mutual friend, Raquel, who is the same way.
Yeah.
And she will feel point something earthquakes, I swear.
You guys have like an extra sense.
It is our sixth sense, yes.
From our 17 follow-up file, it's now been 6 days since a 9-year-old boy fell into the Kern River and was swept away by the current. Despite day-to-day search efforts, the boy still has not been found. The Kern County Sheriff's Office on Wednesday confirmed the search has now transitioned into a recovery effort, and they no longer expect to find the boy alive. The 9-year-old was reported missing Saturday afternoon near the Hog Eye Gulch area in Keysville. Officials say he was playing in the river with other children when he slipped and fell and was swept away. The Sheriff's Office says they had crews on the ground and in the air yesterday, but still no sign of the boy.
Making news around the state this morning, a California mother is under arrest in the deaths of her 2 young sons. Yuba County investigators say the boys were 5 months and 2.5 years old. The father told investigators that when he came home for lunch, his wife told him she had hurt the children. The boys were found in a bathtub full of water. Detectives say they believe the apparent drownings were intentional. 26-year-old Courtney Williams was arrested at the home just before noon yesterday.
A group of Republican lawmakers and victim advocates yesterday urged the California legislature and governor to put a halt to the state's temporary inmate credit program, which can provide a pathway to early release for some. The program, which was put in place during the pandemic, allows the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to boost credits for good behavior to inmates, allowing some violent offenders to earn more time off their sentence. The department's considering making this permanent. The call comes just days after investigators revealed a suspect in the Sacramento shooting was released early from prison for having a combination of pre- and post-sentencing credits. This despite Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert's insistence he be kept behind bars.
That's not rehabilitation. That's not helping people get back into a productive life.
The group says law enforcement needs to have the tools to keep violent offenders off the street, including harsher penalties for gun and gang crimes. But they say stopping early releases for violent offenders could have an immediate impact.
A suspect involved in a pursuit in San Diego takes drastic measures, including jumping off a bridge to escape police. San Diego police say they were chasing the driver in the white Mercedes when he refused to pull over for a seatbelt violation. The man survived the 30-foot jump, but he was hurt when officers found him in a patch of shrubbery and then arrested him.
And now to COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine mandate for federal workers was upheld yesterday in a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. U.S. District Judge Ketanji Brown had issued a nationwide injunction against the mandate in January, which is now dismissed. President Biden's vaccine mandate requires all federal workers and contractors to be fully vaccinated against the virus and sets rules for large companies to mandate vaccines or regular testing. The White House says more than 98% of federal employees have been fully vaccinated.
The U.S. vaccination effort helped decrease the amount of deaths due to COVID-19 significantly. That is according to the Commonwealth Fund Yale report. The study updates estimates from December 2021 and found that without the U.S. vaccination effort, there would have been nearly 2.2 million additional COVID-19 deaths. Vaccines also prevented more than 17 million additional hospitalizations due to COVID-19, 66 million additional infections, and an additional $900 billion in healthcare spending.
Starting tomorrow, all public inmate visitation will resume at local jail facilities. The announcement coming from the Kern County Sheriff's Office, which says it has been able to stop the spread of COVID-19. However, visitation will be by appointment only, and all visitors will be required to wear a mask while inside the jail facilities. There's also hand sanitizer and cleaning supplies available.
In your 17 Health Watch this morning, Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, along with local leaders, broke ground yesterday on a new psychiatric health facility in South Bakersfield. The 2 new buildings will provide both adults and children with acute inpatient psychiatric care, housing 16 beds for children in one building and 16 beds for adults in the other. It is a resource health experts say has only grown in demand throughout the pandemic.
This is going to be a really important inpatient mental health resource. So when somebody's going through a mental health crisis, these beds are available to provide treatment and stabilization. And what we've seen before the pandemic, during the pandemic, post-pandemic, is that our community's mental health needs are increasing.
The psychiatric health facility will be located at 702 Workman Street. Kern Behavioral Health expects the facilities to open in spring or summer next year.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.